Minash-shaytanir rajim. Bismillahir-rahmanir-rahim. La ilaha illallah Muhammadur Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. I greet you, my brothers and sisters, with the noble and universal greeting of peace. The greeting that has been used by the prophets and messengers of our universal Creator, Almighty Allah. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. I have the privilege and the pleasure to continue our series of lectures where we are talking about what it means to be a believer and how Iman can enter into our hearts. Because the Quran says, do not say that you're a believer, rather say that you are one who is submissive in religion. And this is said to the Bedouin Arabs who had accepted Islam. They had said, La ilaha illallah Muhammadur Rasulullah, but they were saying we are believers, and Allah is saying to them through the Quran, the message, the revelation came that you rather say you're submissive in religion. Don't say you're a believer, for faith has not entered into your hearts. So in this particular teaching, the Believer's Refuge, Almighty Allah, the Believer's Refuge teaching, we are interested in being believers. We are interested in experiencing faith in our hearts, to live with Iman in our hearts. Because the Quran says that dua is the weapon, or the Prophet ﷺ spoke, he said, dua is the weapon of the believer. And the Quran talks about those who believe, those who actually believe, not those who have beliefs. You get what I mean? There are people who have beliefs about God, and those who actually believe in God. And so, our universal Creator, Almighty Allah, we choose to have Allah awareness, and the Quran tells us that human beings will be in a state of insecurity until guidance comes to them. And those who receive the guidance and remember Allah, they will no longer be insecure, their hearts will no longer be diseased. And if you fail to remember Allah, then yours will be a depressed life. Your heart is the disease. That disease will be expanded. It won't be eliminated, healed, the heart. The disease gets bigger if you fail to remember Allah. If you fail to become aware of Allah and experience Allah consciousness. If you fail to actually become aware of Allah and experience being aware of Allah, then your heart is diseased and it expands, it's expanded, and you are left to stray. You get what I mean? So, all human beings are in darkness until light comes to them, until they're guided to the light, until guidance comes to them and they are guided to the light. We all are to be guided to the light. If you're not guided to the light, and you don't take that guidance, you'll remain in darkness. You get what I mean? So, even the Prophet Muhammad ﷺ says in the Quran, I'm among you the first to submit. And Ibrahim alayhi he submitted. You get what I mean? Human beings, if you've got a mother and father, if you are part of the children of Adam and Eve, then there is for us to go from insecurity to security. So the word mu'min means one who is secure. And so I have been using an analogy of the caterpillar. The caterpillar becomes a butterfly. A seed becomes the tree, The seed grows into a tree. If a seed doesn't grow into a tree, the seed hasn't fulfilled its purpose. And so, if we remain religious caterpillars or anti-religious caterpillars, and we don't develop ourselves into spiritual believers, then we haven't fulfilled our purpose. Our purpose, while we are here alive, the Quran tells us, is to bring to Allah a purified heart. Ours is for us to bring to Allah a purified heart. That a purified heart is our own purified heart. The matter between me and my Creator is for me to bring to God my heart cleansed and purified. A heart, qalbun salim, a heart that is wholesome, a heart that is healed, a heart that is pure, cleansed, a heart that is sound. You get what I mean? So the Quran tells us it's not going to help us that, we have children and families and we have businesses and money. Neither will your wealth nor your children, kinship and all that avail you, except those who bring to Allah a purified heart. So what I'm interested in my life, and I'm not saying that you should be interested in this in your life, is the condition of our hearts. What is the condition of our hearts? Are we bringing to Allah a purified heart? Are we living with diseased hearts, and are these diseased hearts getting more diseased, as the Quran says? Many say they believe in Allah and they believe in the last day, but they don't believe in Allah. In their hearts is a disease, and that disease is expanded. They are stray, and they are left to stray. You get what I mean? I don't want to be that person who is on the planet, who's here alive, and who lives my life and misses out on the opportunity for the purpose that I am to be fulfilled. I want to fulfill my purpose for being here. You get what I mean? I'm not sure about you. It's up to you. I'm not saying that you should fulfill your purpose for being here, but I'm saying that the guidance of the Quran is clear, that it is for me to bring to Allah a purified heart. And that is my intention, to bring to Allah a purified heart. The Quran says, don't say that you're a believer, for faith has not entered into your heart. I don't want to say I'm a believer if I don't have faith in my heart, if my heart has not been cleansed, purified. I actually want to experience faith in my heart. I want to live and die as a believer. I want to be raised up as a believer. If I live and die as a believer, and I'm raised up as a believer, that is success for me. I'm not saying that that should be success for you. That could be success for you, that you deem something honorable and noble with your life. You get what I mean? Some people might make their wealth what success is about. Allah says, it's not your wealth, nor your family, nor your kinship, nor your children. You know what I mean? It's bringing to Allah a purified heart. That's the primary purpose. That's our priority according to the Quran. And Allah in the Quran, through the Prophet, through guidance that He gives to us, direct, indirect, is guiding us to fulfill that ambition, to fulfill that purpose, to bring to Him a purified heart. This is extremely important as far as I'm concerned. But somebody else might say, nah, it's not that important. What's important is something else. You get what I mean? And so what I'm talking to us about is the path of the believer's refuge, to bring to Allah a purified heart. Because the Quran says to us that Satan stands on the path and he renders us ungrateful, kafuran. I'm talking about being on the path and claiming the refuge with Allah and being among those people who are not distracted by Satan and rendered ungrateful. I'm talking about us being on the path and actually being Allah conscious and being aware of the power of Allah and the sufficiency of that power. Being aware of the graciousness of Allah and the adequacy of the graciousness of Allah. I'm talking about being aware of the gifts of Allah, infinite, countless gifts, innumerable gifts of Allah, and being aware and appreciative of these favors, more than enough favors. I'm talking about actually having a higher level of awareness and experiencing, expression, appreciation, living, enjoyment. I'm talking about being on the path of Iman, Amal, a life tayyibun. I'm talking about us actually being God conscious, experiencing God consciousness, Allah consciousness, and being honorable human beings, and living as honorable human beings. I'm talking about us choosing a natural way of living rather than an unnatural way of living. I'm talking about us going beyond the heart that is diseased and the perversions, because a lot of people do not really have faith in their hearts, including those who say they believe in Allah and the last day. The Quran says in the hearts is a disease. They're hypocrites. They lie to themselves thinking they lie to Allah. They're self-deceivers. And their hearts are diseased, and it's expanded, this disease, and they are left to stray. You get what I mean? So I'm talking about us really experiencing Qalbun Salim, a heart that is healed, restored to naturalness, rather than unnatural being, unnatural relating, unnatural experiencing. I'm talking about going beyond perversion. Because if anybody is unaware of Allah or universal creator, they are arrogant, they're ignorant, they're superstitious, they're entitled, they're dismissive, they're into separation, they're into fear, they're into shame, they're into guilt, they're into behaving badly, they're into ego desires, they're into perversion. You get what I mean? And that's where we all are. We all are that until guidance comes to us. And those of us who are genuinely interested in the guidance, we will then go beyond this perversion, this disconnection with Allah, the separation from this experience of feeling separate and scared and afraid. We will submit to Allah and we will experience Allah consciousness. And when we remember Allah, then our hearts will experience assurance. You see? When you remember Allah as one who is aware of Allah, your heart experiences assurance. The Quran says, remember Allah, Allah will remember you. The Quran says, if you fail to remember Allah, yours will be a depressed life. The Quran says, turn back. You see? Until we turn back, until we return, until we remember Allah. And a lot of people think remembrance of Allah is just reading in Arabic names that we don't understand of God and just reading it so many times. That they think remembrance of Allah is using a tasbih or a rosary, counting beads and saying words. They think that is remembering Allah. Remembering Allah is to become cognizant of Allah, and becoming cognizant of Allah is a transformational experience in us, and we experience a shift in our heart. The Quran says, when the name of Allah is mentioned, the believers are those in whose hearts the hearts respond. You get what I mean? Respond. The Quran says, respond to Allah. Respond. People are not responding to Allah. A lot of people are reacting, feeling threatened and vulnerable and acting and reacting compulsively, but they're not responding to Allah. You get what I mean? So, what I'm talking about, what's important to me, for me, and there's nothing more important to me, for me, than bringing to Allah a purified heart. For a long time, Satan whispered to me that it's more important for me to bring to Allah other people's hearts that are purified. I had a delusion, grandiosity, that I can save people and help people and I can guide people to purify their hearts. The Quran told to the Prophet ﷺ, the revelation was that there are people who are not interested. There's nothing you can do to change their attitude. That you just give the message. You are not a manager of people. You're a messenger. Give the message. And there are those whose hearts are closed. Their minds are shut down. They see not, they hear not, they believe not, they behold not. You know what I mean? And so, I was fooled by Satan too. I didn't realize the mission was for me to bring to Allah my purified heart. The mission is not for me to bring us all together with Allah to have a purified heart. That's up to you. Whether you undertake that mission or whether you don't undertake that mission, it's got nothing to do with me. The only thing that's got to do with me, the only thing that concerns me with Allah, is whether I bring to Allah my purified heart. Do I bring to Allah my heart, and is my heart purified? And I can tell you, from the person that I was decades ago and that I've been relatively recently to the person that I am now, my heart is more purified than ever before. The perversion that I only know I was engaged in and that I'm not engaged in anymore, all kinds of harming myself, my body, my life, and other people directly and indirectly by overt and covert disregard of people and myself and my body is no longer the case. And so I can tell you from my own experience, the way I feel, the way I think, the way I feel, the way I act, I respond, the way I live, there is humility, there's sincerity. The heart has been purified to a certain degree. I live grateful that I can see and feel that there's no longer perversion to the degree that there was perversion in my heart. There's no longer perversion reflected in my mind and its ideas that feelings and emotions, that aloneness, that separation, that anger, that fear, that jealousy, whatever it is, the judgment and all that sort of thing, no longer there. Because the heart is being purified, cleansed. And I'm more humble, I'm more aware, I'm less arrogant, I'm less ignorant, I'm less entitled, I'm more sincere and aware and humble and appreciative. There's a change in the way I feel, there's a change in the way I think, there's a change in the way I live. And this is the change that the butterfly version of the human being, those human beings who submit, those human beings who become Allah conscious, those human beings who actually choose to draw closer to Allah, and whose desire is to be held close to Allah, and who's grateful that there is a refuge available to us. Those human beings who are grateful there's guidance of the Quran that tell us about us and why we are here, and point us to us that we are in error, and tell us about the merciful nature of Allah, the compassionate nature of Allah, and we begin to recognize we are in error, we are sinning, and that we admit that, and we submit, and we choose to become Allah aware. For more than 10 years, the first part of the prophetic mission, there was no any form of organizational rituals or organizational institution. There was only Allah consciousness for the first half, more or less half of the Prophet's prophetic mission. There was no read this and read that and this and that and this. It was only Allah consciousness. There was no Sharia in the way that we understand it, There was just the truth. The truth. Become aware of the truth. So believers are those human beings who have gone beyond living as disbelievers, unbelievers, disbelievers, non-believers, and so on and so forth. And we all start off non-believers, unbelievers, disbelievers. We all start off there. When we come here after Adam and Eve's incident, we all are lost. Our parents are lost, other people are lost. We are unaware of Allah, we are unaware of truth, we are yet to remember. We have forgotten. And that's why our behaviors reflect forgottenness, that we have forgotten. When you forget, you feel alone, you feel threatened, you feel vulnerable. You have that existential abandonment. You feel alone, you feel scared. Satan tempts you, threatens you with insecurity, causes you to behave in ways unseemly. Those of us who are functioning in inhumane ways to ourselves, to our bodies, to our lives, those of us who are destructive, Satan threatens you to behave in ways badly. Do not with your own hands destroy yourself. Allah is guiding human beings of halal and tayyib, not only in food consumption but in life. Guiding human beings, iman, amal, halal, tayyib, fi dunya, fil akhirah. Allah is the champion of humanity. Allah is standing for the potential and possibility that is for us. Allah believes in us. Allah is with us and saying, look guys, you are off track, and girls, you are off track. People, you are off track. I'm here for you. I'm reminding you, there's guidance. You guys are off track, and girls too. You're off track. Your people are off track. And I have mercy upon you and compassion for you. Come back, return, go beyond the forgottenness, go beyond forgetting. Because when you forget, you behave very badly towards yourself. You don't respect Allah, you don't acknowledge Allah, you don't have your relationship with Allah when you forget. Until you remember, then you have your relationship with Allah. You understand Allah alone is the actual. When you remember, you understand Tawheed, you understand the oneness, you understand the onlyness, you understand that there is first Allah to submit before. There is only Allah before you, me, everything created. Nothing created has any power. Nothing created can do anything for us. It is Allah that alone is the all-powerful. Allah alone is the all-privileging. Allah alone is the provider and the provisioner. the protector, the progressor and the prosperer. Before you submit, before Iman enters into your heart, there is this diseases of insecurity, of Satan worship that tell you turn to other people. Turn to other people to take care of you. Somebody can take care of you. Turn to them. They are special. They will take care of you. Satan whispers to people and say, look, you take care of everybody else. Get people to take care of you. Be dependent on people, or you must take care of everybody else. There's no Allah taking care of you. There's no Allah taking care of anybody. You have to get people to take care of you and they must be your caretakers. You must be their caretakers. Or you know what? You don't have caretakers in this world. You must be your own caretaker. You must look after yourself. So most people live without this relationship with Allah. They have a perverted relationship with people, things. They think if I got a job, if I got money, I'm okay. I am making me okay. I am causing me to be. I'm looking after my family. I'm looking after other people. They don't know we are created beings. We can't look after ourselves. We didn't cause ourselves. We can't continue ourselves. We didn't cause this universe. We can't cause the earth to spin. But Allah has caused us, and Allah causes this earth to be. Our lives are because of Allah, not because of each other. We live in the world denying Allah and His greatness. We live in the world unaware of Allah, His greatness, graciousness and His gifts. We live kafuran. We don't even know we're doing that. You get what I mean? And so we have an opportunity while we are alive to submit, to become aware, to experience peace, salam. I can tell you something. When Iman enters your heart, one of the things that you value and champion more than anything else is the peace in your heart. The Quran says when you remember Allah, your heart experiences assurance. The Quran says remember Allah abundantly that you may progress and prosper. I can tell you something. The more I remember Allah, rather than remaining in forgetfulness of Allah, the more I remain committed to remembering Allah, I feel a peace that I've never felt before. And the Quran says Allah fills the hearts of the believers with tranquility. That's what the Quran says. Allah fills the hearts of the believers with tranquility while they may increase in faith. You know what I mean? Peace and patience and trust. When you are aware of Allah, when you submit, when you are in understanding of Tawheed, and you experience Allah consciousness, your being is one of peace. The heart that is healed, the heart that is whole, the heart that is sound, the heart that has been restored, the heart that no longer has insecurity, threat, vulnerability, the heart that is afraid is the heart that doesn't know Allah. You understand? The heart that is insecure is the heart that is unaware of Allah. The heart that is threatened and vulnerable, no, somebody must look after me, no, I must look after people, no, I must look after myself. We don't know that Allah alone is the caretaker of all. There is no other. So what I'm talking about is us having the opportunity to live and die and being raised up as a believer, one in whose hearts there's peace, one whose hearts feels assured, one who is no longer distorted in their hearts, one who is no longer in their hearts perverted, not living unnaturally, not denying Allah's caring for you, not living in a way that is against your good in this world and the world beyond, respecting Allah, respecting yourself, your body, your life, respecting other people, letting people respect you. People are not living like that. People are living perverted. People are not aware that Allah alone is attending to us. They are unaware of Allah's attending to us. They're saying, no, somebody must take care of me, I must take care of other people, no, I must take care of myself. They haven't submitted. In their hearts is a disease. They say they believe, but they don't believe. The perverted, astray, left to stray, they live perverted. You can live perverted, or you can revert. Either you can be a revert, and if you don't revert, you live as a pervert. You understand? And Allah is guiding us to admit that if we admit that we are in error, because to ask for forgiveness means you must recognize that you are in error, and you must recognize what that error is. You can't say, I'm asking for forgiveness, but you don't know what you are in error about. You must recognize you are in error. Otherwise you'll pray as the unbelievers pray, and the prayers of the unbelievers, the prayers of those who do not believe, are nothing but vain prayers. You understand? The prayers of the hypocrites are nothing but vain prayers. The Quran puts the hypocrites, those who say they believe in Allah in the last day, but they don't, in the same category of the associators, the polytheists. And I'll tell you why. Because the associators and the hypocrites, they say they believe in Allah, but they have beliefs about Allah, but they don't actually believe in Allah. They're not actually aware of Allah and experience Allah consciousness. They're not in the butterfly. They're not in the spiritual butterfly state. They haven't expanded awareness and experience. They haven't released fear. They haven't released forgetfulness. They haven't remembered Allah. It's only when you remember Allah that your heart will experience assurance. And if you remember Allah abundantly, you will experience prosperity. You will experience felicity. You will experience success. The hypocrites are no different from the non-believers. The hypocrites are no different from the ones who are actually, in error, because they're not Allah aware. Whether it's the associators or the hypocrites, they fail to recognize Allah, the one, the only, the all, the always. They're not aware of the one. Associators, like they associate, meaning they don't recognize the one. They take gods other than God. And the hypocrites also don't recognize the one. They say they recognize the one, but they don't. So we have this opportunity, in this world, to actually live and die as believers, to go through this transformation. There is this opportunity to live at a higher level of awareness, experiencing, expression, appreciating, rejoicing, celebrating Allah's favor upon us, that Allah is our champion, is championing us. Allah is with us and for us. Allah is here saying to us, I'm here to guide you. See, there's nothing we need to be afraid of. Threatened by Allah, we are assured with Allah. He knows we are in error, and He's extending to us His forgiveness. The Quran says Allah extends to us His forgiveness. Satan threatens you, but Allah extends to you His forgiveness and of His bounty. The Quran says go, and it encourages us to receive Allah's bounty. Go and live in this world and receive bounty. Now people who are unaware, they don't know what the favors of Allah is. To live with natural pleasure, to live with natural satisfaction, to live in this world satisfied, fulfilled, pleased, have a natural pleasurable experience, and in the world beyond, infinite pleasure beyond what we know here. Because that's what Jannatul Firdaus is. That's what Jannatul Naeem is. A pleasurable experience. It describes, look at the Quran and see what it tells us about the pleasurable experience that Jannatul Firdaus, Jannatul Naeem is. But in this world we have to experience natural, wholesome pleasure. Pleasure of tayyibun, natural. So people are not aware. And they're not interested that they're not aware, because they're astray and their hearts are diseased. The Quran says those who Allah leaves to stray, none can guide. So many of the people, they say they believe in Allah, but they don't believe in Allah. In their hearts is a disease. The disease is expanded, the perversion is increased. And they're left astray. And those who Allah leaves to stray, none can guide. Not me, not anybody, not the Prophet, nobody. Not you. Those who Allah leaves to stray, because they don't want guidance. You get what I mean? So who are the three types of people that we are, and when we receive guidance, that we can go beyond insecurity? The first type, as I've explained to you in the past the past lectures over the past few weeks, which are available on Spotify, Almighty Allah, the Believer's Refuge, the YouTube, as well, Almighty Allah, the Believer's Refuge. There's a whole lot, there's over hundreds. I've done hundreds of lectures available, at least there's over 100 available on Spotify from 2020 and beyond, 2021, 2022, now it's 2023. Very few on YouTube, but there's plenty on Anchor FM, Spotify. It's all there. Shukr to Allah, I've had the opportunity to glorify Him. Allah says, if you remember Allah in an audience, He remembers you in a greater audience. Every Friday, shukr to Allah, almost every Friday for the past many years, I remember Allah in a group, and Allah remembers me in a more, in a group more dignified, So, I am very grateful that I've had this opportunity, and that I am doing, and I'm learning, and I'm purifying my heart. I'm spending my time to actually be aware of Allah. And I was saying to you that there are those that say they believe in Allah and they don't. And their hearts is a disease. We've had women tell us about their husbands who are so-called learned in deen, but their hearts are perverted. They do not extend themselves to others. You get what I mean? When you connect with Allah first, when your first relationship is with Allah, and that's the transformational process, to withdraw power projections and attributions of significance, to stop making other than Allah significant, to recognize the significance of Allah, to stop thinking that somebody in the created world or something in the created world will look after you or can take care of you better than Allah can take care of you. It's willing, if you're willing to become aware, if you're willing to open your eyes and become aware, if you stop worshipping Satan, if you stop believing the lies that Satan has told Adam and Eve. The Quran says, do not let Satan fool you. He who fooled your foreparents. Satan fooled Adam and Eve, and the Quran cautions us, do not be fooled like they were. Satan will whisper to us, and that's why we are to be aware, to say, hey, there is two parts. One is the straight part, and the other part, the straight part of the believers. The straight part of the believers, they are the people committed to human excellence. They're committed to Iman, Amal, Life Tayyibun. They're committed to going beyond superstition, experiencing enlightenment. Committed to going beyond ignorance, experiencing awareness. Committed to going beyond arrogance, experiencing humility. Committed to going beyond entitlement, experiencing thankfulness and trust in Allah. You get what I mean? We can be inspired by this potential that Allah is supporting us in Allah, no matter how much in error we are. If you look at the life of the Prophet and the experiences that he went through, and the message that came through to him is forgive, forgive. People did the worst things, forgive, forgive. Allah forgives, Allah forgives. The people realize they're in error. Allah forgives, Allah is supporting us, Allah is championing us, Allah is encouraging us as humanity. But nobody tells us these things. Definitely not Maulana Guru and Mufti Pandit. They're not interested in guiding us to Allah. They're not interested in A'udhu Billah. They're not interested in us submitting to Allah. No, Mufti Pandit and Maulana Guru coming from India are promoting the Guru system. Come to us, we'll tell you. You all must remain ignorant, remain superstitious. That's how it is in the Guru system and the Pandit system. You all know nothing. Remain unaware. Come to us, we'll tell you all how to live your lives. We'll tell you what to read, what not to read, when to read it, what to do. This Guru system is all about rituals. This is not Islam. It's Islamism. It sounds like Islam, but when you look at it, you can see there's nothing about it that is really truly about peace and progress and prosperity and guiding people to the message of the Quran, guiding people to Allah, guiding people to security. There's nothing there. Anyway, it's for them to bring to Allah a purified heart. Their state of their heart has got nothing to do with me. The state of your heart has got nothing to do with me. It's only the state of my heart that's got something to do with me. My concern with Allah, Allah's concern with me is whether I bring to me a purified heart. Whether you get the devotees of Maulana Guru and Mufti Pandit, the devotees have got nothing to do with their hearts and what happens. So anyway, I'm saying to you, all of us start in one of these three ways. We can all start as deniers, kuffar, concealers of the truth. This is the anti-religious caterpillar. We don't believe in God. Human beings in whose heart is a disease, Satan has whispered to us. And we are forgotten and we remain forgotten. Meaning we have forgotten about Allah, we remain forgotten. We live feeling threatened and vulnerable. We experience an existential abandonment. We don't know what security is. We don't know what peace is. We say, no, it's up to us, and the world is the only world, and when we die, there's nothing happens after that. That's what the kuffar told the Prophet, that when we die, you think we're going to be raised up again. No, we're not. It's over. Allah says that He who gave us life will give us life again. We will live again. This world is created to see who will submit, to see who will reason, who will wake up, who will stop worshipping Satan, who will step on the path of the believer, receiving God's good in this world and the world beyond, and not the path of those who deny, the path of those who conceal. You get what I mean? That's not my path. The Quran says, إِيَّاكَ نَعْبُدُ وَإِيَّاكَ نَسْتَعِينُ. Thee alone do we worship. Thee alone do we turn to. Not we turn to, first thing we look for Maulana Guru. Let's look for the right Maulana Guru. Did you notice how many different Maulana Gurus there are? But there's not one Maulana Guru, because every group has their own Guru. That's how it is in India. They have their own Gurus. This is a system of Guru, priesthood. You know what I mean? Islam has no guru, no priesthood. The Prophet wasn't anybody's guru. The Prophet guided people to Allah, sallallahu alaihi wasallam. The Prophet, sallallahu alaihi wasallam, guided people to the message of the Quran. The Prophet, sallallahu alaihi wasallam, guided people to Islam, not to religious expertise. He guided people to awaken and remember Allah, rather than live in trances. Anyway, we're coming to them, the hypocrites. The first is the denier, the concealer. You can remain there. You can live in arrogance, ignorance, superstition. You might not know that you don't know, and you don't know that Satan has whispered to you. You don't know you're not humble. You don't know that there's beyond what you know. You're unaware that you are ignorant, superstitious, and arrogant. You don't know there's real peace for you to feel and live in this world. There's real purification of your heart. You don't know that. You don't know. You live perverted, but you don't know. You think you're not perverted. You think you're a nice person, but until you submit, until you humble yourself before Allah, until you become Allah conscious, until your first relationship is with Allah, until you are declare, that there's only one power, until you become aware of Allah. Until you become aware of Allah, you are in a trance. You focus on this world. You think you're God. You think the world is God. You don't know the whole picture. You don't know why you are here. You live as a concealer. You live as a denier. You are insecure. You'll try to find security in the world. Your heart is diseased. You're stray. If guidance comes to you and you stay there, it doesn't end well for you if you're kuffar, a concealer. Deny. If you don't have a relationship of submission with Allah, if Iman doesn't enter into your heart, bad news for you. If you remain one who's an atheist, who says there's no God, just live in this world, and you remain there, you'll never know the peace, you'll never know your spiritual identity. The beauty about being a believer is we know first, before I'm a man, or before a female is a woman, we are aware that we are the creation of Allah. Before we are children of parents, we are aware that we are the creation of Allah. Before we are parents of children, we are aware that we are the creation of Allah. Before we take on any role, before we are a doctor, lawyer, teacher, whatever, plumber, who knows, whatever, before anything, we are the creation of Allah. Believers are those who are aware, beyond this world, beyond the role that they play, their identities. A believer is first connected with Allah. And he's aware that I am a created being in a created world. I have no power of my own. Nothing in this world has any power. Everything that I have is because of Allah. My existence is because of Allah. My continued existence is because of Allah. The existence of my parents and the continued existence of my parents in this world through their death and beyond is because of Allah. The existence of my children is because of Allah. The continued existence of my children is because of Allah. Allah created me, human being, and favored us, created us in the best of molds, created us, given us the highest favor. That's not because of us as human beings. Allah has favored all human beings. We are created with humanity. We can see that and we appreciate that. You see, the denier is not aware of this, and is not aware and is not appreciating and does not feel secure that we are in His creation who created us. Allah is with us and for us. Allah is taking care of us. The denier doesn't have God esteem. The denier doesn't feel good about God when they talk about God. They say there's no God. If you don't feel good about God, your God esteem levels are low. You don't know. There's no faith in your heart. You haven't received guidance. You haven't seen the truth. You don't know why you're here. You're lost. You don't know your true nature. You don't know what you are as a creation of God, our universal creator who we call Almighty Allah. So, people are not aware that their true identity is I'm a spiritual being. Before I'm a mother, father, before I'm a teacher, before I'm a good person, bad person, before I'm a nice person, even, when you're an evil person in the sense of you're a rogue, a criminal, you beat up people, you treat people badly. I used to be very harmful to myself and other people. But we realize even before that, we are believers. Before those roles, we recognize Allah and His mercy. The Quran says, Allah's mercy. Do not despair of the mercy of Allah. It is a disbelieving people who despair of the mercy of Allah. You get what I mean? So it's not about us. It's about Allah. And a denier denies Allah. The associate is a second type of person who we are when we are in this world and we're in a state of forgetfulness, when we haven't remembered Allah. The first type is a denier. The second type is the hypocrite. No. I usually put it in this order, the denier. I save the best for the last. The first is the denier, then is the associator. Because you can see the denier has forgotten Allah completely and doesn't want to remember Allah. The associator, the one who believes in more than one God, the polytheist, the associate, the one who takes gods other than Allah. You can see they're at least talking about God, but they are so misguided. They don't know that Allah is alone, one power, one intelligence, beyond this world, beyond the creation. There are people who say Jesus is God, this idol is God, and that idol is God. They make up gods in their mind. Of course, the denier makes money God, work God, and all the shirk. And so, so they think they believe in God because they say the word God, they do rituals, but they have not submitted. They're still in a state of forgetfulness. They haven't returned. They haven't remembered Allah. You get what I mean? And so they talk about God, they have the places of worship, they have their rituals, they do things. And sadly, the people of Isa alayhi salam have also gone astray. Taking gods other than God and so on and so forth, making a prophet God. They, the great prophet that is called Ruhullah, the Spirit of Allah, Isa alayhi salam, the personality known as Jesus, they made gods of him. You know what I mean? They made gods of him, some made gods of his mother. They say there's 3 gods and all that sort. I'm not criticizing. Look, the state of anybody else's heart has got nothing to do with me. Why must I get judgmental and think? It doesn't matter to me whether the denier's state of heart is in it's not, why must I judge? It's got nothing to do with me. And the associators, it concerns them, their hearts, whether they remember Allah or not, it's got nothing to do with me. And the hypocrites too. I must humble myself. Go beyond my self-righteousness. Go beyond thinking I know better. Going beyond that they must change. Ask Allah for guidance to humble me. That leave them, I must leave them. The Quran says leave them. Leave them, Satan wants me to focus more on them than on me. I don't give literally a damn if they damn themselves. You know what I mean? And so the hypocrites too, they say they believe in Allah and they use the word Allah and they talk about the Quran and they talk about the prophets. You know what I mean? But there's no cognizance of the return. There's no cognizance of Iman, Amal, Life, Tayyibun. There's no cognizance of a heart and the state of the heart. There's no cognizance of tranquility in the heart. That Allah fills the heart with tranquility, a heart of peace. The heart is with peace, is salam, is shalom, is the way of peace. They don't know anything about assurance and peace, the heart. They're not interested. They have also forgotten Allah, but they have beliefs about Allah. They have not remembered Allah. There are people who just say my beard is like this certain length, so I'm like the Prophet. But they're nothing like the Prophet. Nothing at all like the Prophet. The Prophet was at peace. The Prophet was humble. Maulana Guru and Mufti Pandit act arrogant. They know, because their teachers told them the right thing, you see. They're not interested. The Quran says, be loyal to Allah and be loyal to His Messenger. Because He brought the message. He's giving the message of Allah. They want to be loyal to their teachers. Let it be known, I take no human being as a God. I seek refuge in Allah. I never seek refuge in any human being. If you believe in Allah, He will guide your heart. That's who I am. Allah knows what is in my heart. The Quran says Allah knows what is in the hearts of the people. And so I am intent on purifying my heart. I am intent on not living as a denier, which I was, as a mushrik, which I was, and as a, hypocrite, munafiq, which I have been. Who say I believe but don't. There are people who talk about Allah, they have no clue about Allah. They have no cognizance. You understand? There are people who say they read the Quran, they have no cognizance, awareness of the message of the Quran. They have no cognizance of the Prophet and what he stood for. They talk about the Prophet. They're not really becoming aware of Allah. They're not really becoming aware of the Quran and its message. They're not becoming aware of the Prophet. They're not becoming aware of the reason why we are here. And they're not interested. They, like the mushriks, the hypocrites are modified mushriks. A lot of the so-called Muslim people are modified Hindus. Sad to tell you that. Because, as I said, when the Arabs came to India, our Indo-Pak ancestors were Hindus. And they tried to distinguish themselves from the Hindus at that time. And yes, no alcohol, this and that, all that is very good, no gambling and all that, But then it just became about that, the law. And it still remained with the gurus and the pandits, the system of keeping the people without truth. And the people have not been enlightened. So you can see a lot of so-called Muslim people are modified Hindus in that they might talk about Allah and talk about the Prophet and talk about the Quran and talk about Islam and all that, but in their hearts there's no remembrance, there's no assurance. You can see the perversion. You can see that there's no light. They're not showing up and shining. There's no light. The Quran who speaks about those who bow and the light that comes from them. The Quran says bow and draw closer to Allah. Bow and draw closer. You get what I mean? So, you can, while you are alive, be grateful that guidance has come to you. To say, yes, I am either in type 1 kuffar, type 2 mushrik, or type 3 hypocrite munafiq. And I don't want to be there. I don't want to remain in a state of forgetfulness. I want to have a relationship with Allah. I want to become aware of the one who alone really matters. Nobody and nothing matters but Allah. I want to become aware of the one who is loving, Allah my creator. I want to be aware of how He is and how He relates to me. And Allah has no gender. Allah is the creator of gender, but Allah is beyond form. Allah creates form. We want to become aware of Allah. And in becoming aware of Allah, who Allah is to us and how Allah is to us, that He sees us in error and He's pointing us to see this error. And we see this error, that we have not become conscious, our hearts are diseased. If you can admit that, I am 1, 2 or 3 in the, caterpillar mentality, that I choose to be in the butterfly mentality. But who will be inspired? I can tell you something. There are those who, when I tell them this, they will be aggressive with me. They will feel embarrassed, they will feel ashamed, and they will be aggressive. They won't say Allah is merciful and compassionate. We accept the truth. This is the error in our hearts, is a disease. We are here to bring to Allah a purified heart. Let's look at the perversion in us. Let's look at the hypocrisy in us. We're sorry about it. They won't do that. They won't do that. They'll be aggressive. They are hell-bent. They are insistent on being aggressive. And you know what? They're going to end up feeling very desperate in this world and the world beyond, because they are not humble before Allah. They are not sincere before Allah. They are not on the Sirat al-Mustaqim. They are not on the path of Iman, Amal and Life Tayyibun. They are not into moving beyond forgetfulness and going beyond existential abandonment. They are not into existential attendedness. They don't know Allah, they don't know their Creator, they don't know who their Creator is, and they don't know the beauty of Allah. They don't know how loving and championing of us Allah is, how Allah believes in us, and how encouraging Allah. They will never know that these who argue and want to fight to remain ignorant, superstitious and arrogant, who want to be right but don't want to be at peace, they are the ones who are going to end up in desperation in this world. They are the ones who are overpowered in this world because they choose to remain without the light of truth that is there. They don't want to accept the truth. They want to continue in the ways of their forefathers. They don't want to. So there are those who will fight me arrogant, they will be aggressive, and they will want to remain the same, and they will end up desperate in this world and in the hereafter. Doesn't end well for them. The hypocrites are put in the same category as the mushriks, and it's horrible for them in the hereafter. Read the Quran with an intention to understand, to the intention to be guided of what's going on here, who you are, where you are, what our purpose, what it means to be successful in this world. Doesn't mean you're a religious freak, or you are just one for religious expertise, or you are just all about the rituals. It's about the heart first, then the rituals. Rituals support the heart if the heart is well. But when you worship Satan, you don't want to admit the truth. If those who are hell-bent, they will argue, they will fight, they want to continue to be the same. They don't want to submit and join a universal group of people called believers. Universal group. This doesn't belong to me. I have submitted. We all submit to the deen of Allah, to the way of Allah. The deen was given to the prophets and the messengers. They shared the deen with us. We have the deen. This is the deen, one humanity, one truth, one experience of peace, one connection, one experiencing Allah's attentiveness to us is sufficient, and one who is living naturally attending to them. Allah is attending to us, and Allah has given us the ability to tend to ourselves, our bodies and our lives. And we believers, we are aware of Allah, His sufficiency for us. We trust in Allah, His caring and encouragement of us, His mercy. We feel wonderful. We're beyond feeling scared and worried and fearful. We know we are in error. We see the error. We want to come on track. We are on track. Allah is guiding us. We feel good. Our hearts are in, the state of our hearts are healing. And we are choosing from Iman to go into Amal, honorable conduct, to relate to ourselves, our bodies, our lives, areas of our lives. Allah's good in this world and the world beyond, people and things with halal and tayyib. We choose to have the attitude of halal and tayyib. People just talk about halal, they don't know interested in tayyib. This is the hypocrites. They pick and choose from the Quran which they want. You understand? This is what the people of Musa alayhi salam did. Changed their teaching by picking and choosing. And so, if you become aware of Allah attending to you, you will go beyond existential abandonment. And if you choose, that's Iman. If you choose Amal, you will become responsible to you, your body, your life. You will live naturally as a human being, as a humane being. You will choose Amal. You will respect yourself and other people. Allah is attending to you. You will tend to yourself, your body and your life. You will live naturally on the path. And then you will extend yourself to the right people. And you will have other people extend themselves to you. This is the thing. Allah is taking care of us. Iman. His is the law. His is the principle. We're always okay. Everything is okay. We become aware of that as believers. We experience security. Allah is attending to us. And then we are to live in a way to tend to ourselves, our bodies, our lives and our afterlives. We are to apply ourselves in a certain way. And then we are to relate to each other attending, not over. No, Allah is attending to us, we tend to ourselves, and we extend ourselves to each other without overextending or underextending. This is the connection with Allah. This is the connection with ourselves, our bodies, our lives, our afterlives. This is the connections with fellow human beings we are called to. We are called to a universal way of human excellence. Shukr to Almighty Allah. I have heard the call, I have responded, and I am speaking this not to save you or your heart. I can't do that. It's between you and Allah, but for my heart, to purify my heart, to stand in truth. The Quran says, and I end with this, by the end of the day, human beings are in a state of loss. except those who have faith in their hearts, except those who have faith, except those who believe, actually believe, not have beliefs, because the mushriks also have beliefs, the hypocrites also have beliefs, but be a believer, to have faith in your heart, to be aware and experience your spiritual nature, and to conduct yourself honorably. And those who guide others to truth. So I am fulfilling my responsibility as part of the Quran to guide others to truth and myself, and to guide others to patient perseverance. Those of you who want to live and die on the path, those of you who want true success, who want to know what success is in the world, this is the message of the Quran. Shukr to Allah, all praise, glory and thanks is due to Allah Almighty, His choicest blessings upon our beloved Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.